This morning's lessons from Acts and John have a lot in common. In each case, someone who has done a great wrong by persecuting Christians in Saul's case and by denying Jesus 3 times in Peter's is not only forgiven and offered a second chance, but entrusted with a vitally important job. When Ananias protests the evils Saul has committed, God answers, "He is an instrument whom I have chosen." Peter is chosen too, singled out from the disciples who have gathered for breakfast. Jesus elicits 3 avowals of love to match Peter's 3 denials after Jesus' arrest, and repeats 3 times, "Feed my sheep." Saul, responsible for the arrests and beatings of Christians, becomes Paul, the famous apostle and church planter. Fearful Peter becomes the founder and rock of the church. These 2 men will help turn a regional movement into an international phenomenon. According to the Center for the Study of Global Christianity, there are 45,000 Christian denominations worldwide. We likely have Peter and Paul to thank for all of them. If Peter and Paul hadn't been chosen, surely others would have been. But they were the 2 who received God's tap on the shoulder. The women at the tomb were given the task of sharing the joyous, terrifying, impossible news of resurrection. These 2 men were charged with creating communities and institutional structures around that news, a process we'll see begin in earnest on Pentecost. They were chosen not because they were pure and perfect, but precisely because they weren't. These 2 especially needed resurrection. Richard Rohr, a Franciscan friar and teacher, notes that, quote, "Death is not only physical dying. Death also means going to the full depths of things, hitting the bottom, going beyond where we're in control," unquote. Peter, despite his love for Jesus, found himself unable to control his instinct to save himself in the face of Roman persecution. Paul, after being blinded by a vision of God on the road to Damascus, endured 3 terrifying days of darkness. Peter's 3 denials and Paul's 3 days of blindness echo Jesus' 3 days in the tomb. Rohr says that none of us crosses over this gap from death to new life by our own effort, our own merit, our own purity, or our own perfection. He concludes that God's one and only job description is to turn death into life. Paul and Peter may seem like the least likely suspects to be made cornerstones of the church, but their awareness of their faults ensures their gratitude for God's grace. In the first letter to Timothy, Paul says, "Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am the foremost." Peter, meanwhile, is so ashamed of his behavior after Jesus' arrest that when he realizes who is on the beach offering fishing lessons, he puts on clothing and jumps into the water. This scene vividly recalls Adam and Eve covering themselves in Genesis when they first become ashamed of their nakedness. Guilt and shame. These are powerful emotions, among the most toxic and universal that humans suffer. Guilt is the knowledge that we have done something wrong. It all too easily morphs into its more global cousin, shame, the belief that we are something wrong, that we are the mistake. Both can be crippling, especially if we believe ourselves so unworthy that we turn away from God. Guilt and shame can make us forget God's promises, that our wrongdoings will be forgiven if we repent, and that, having been created by God in God's image, we cannot be mistakes even when we make mistakes. But it's one thing to hear you're forgiven and you were created to be a blessing, and quite another to believe it. Sometimes people don't believe in themselves until others believe in them. One of the quickest ways to show that we trust someone is to give that person a job. In 2014, I read an article on Cracked.com by a man named Frank Mienk. He had been a high-ranking member of a Philadelphia skinhead gang, a self-avowed racist and anti-Semite. After he filmed himself viciously beating another skinhead for being less racist than he was, he found himself in prison, where he gradually discovered that he liked the black gang members better than the Aryan Nation ones. But the real change came when he was released. Finding work is tough for any ex-con, Mienk says, but it doesn't get any easier when you have a swastika tattoo on your neck. The only person who would employ him was a Jewish man named Keith, who hired him to move furniture for $100 a day. On Mienk's first payday, Keith gave him an extra $100 because he was such a good worker. Mienk responded with anger. I didn't know how else to react. Kindness was new and scary. Beneath that anger lay shame. Here's an important secret, he says. All us juvie kids grew up thinking we were dumb. I was told I was dumb my whole life, by my stepdad, by the cops, by myself, and it stuck. So when Mienk accidentally broke an expensive marble top table, he said to Keith, I'm sorry, man, I'm so stupid, I'm sorry. Keith interrupted, stop saying you're dumb, you idiot. Then, Mienk says, he started talking about me. He said I worked hard. He said I was reliable. He said I was smart. And I was blown away because all I could think about was how much I looked up to this guy, how much I wanted to be like him someday. This old Jewish guy who was everything I'd ever taught myself to hate. I was blown away by this entire speech he gave about how much he respected me. And then he ended it with, you know who you remind me of, Frank? You remind me of me. This encounter changed Mienk's life. In 2011, he helped found an organization called Life After Hate, whose mission is to help people leave the violent far right, to connect with humanity and lead compassionate lives. He went from practicing hatred to helping former gang members learn how to love their neighbors. Like Peter and Paul, he was an instrument God had chosen, and like them, he was resurrected. Most of us don't have stories as dramatic as Peter's or Paul's or Frank Mienk's. But I suspect that all of us have felt guilt and shame, and I know that all of us have been given jobs by God. The work all of us are called to do, to seek and serve Christ in all people, to strive for justice and peace, and to respect the dignity of every human being, is laid out in our baptismal covenant. But God has also entrusted each of us with other work according to our individual gifts. However much we doubt and mistrust ourselves, however much we are convinced we are the least likely suspects, each of us is an instrument. Here's one more story. In 1943, two choreographers had a conversation in a restaurant over soda. Agnes DeMille confessed to Martha Graham that she had a burning desire to be excellent, but no faith that she could be. Graham responded, there is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there was only one of you in all of time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium, and it will be lost. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how valuable, nor how it compares with other expressions. It is your business to keep it yours clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. You do not even have to believe in yourself or your work. Keep the channel open. If we keep the channel open, God will close the gap, working through us to turn death into new life. We will find ourselves freed from our tombs of guilt and shame, our prisons of despair. We will discover our own unique ways to feed others as we have been fed, coming to the feast offered by Jesus, the fish and bread on the beach at dawn, and leaving renewed and strengthened to love and serve the Lord. Amen.